You know what I think I need? I think I need to do something unusual, exciting and daring.
It's time for an adventure. For some people, driving through a Macca's drive-through is an adventure, but more on that later. Let's get a cup of tea, hit the road and find somewhere nicer to discuss this topic.
Thank you.
So this video we're going to explore what an adventure is. I've always liked adventuring, I've always liked getting out and about. As a kid I was never indoors. I enjoyed getting out and about. I always wanted to know what was on the other side of the mountain. As I got older, that adventurous spirit led me into full driving and remote touring, and yeah, it kind of makes sense I went down that road. I was an apprentice diesel mechanic and I love cars and mechanicking, and so it was a perfect fit. And over the years I did quite a few adventures. I'd done Cape York 3 times, including 8 months on the road, which I had about 3 months in the Cape. I've crossed the Simpson Desert. Years and years ago when I was younger, me and mates used to go and try and break them at Glasshouse Mountains or the 4-wheel drive parks. I don't do that anymore. I don't like fixing my vehicle. But that adventure spirit is still there, and I still love getting out and about. Just recently we did a trip in the Northern Territory with the family and went some really remote places. I really get a kick out of it. I have found another thing that I get that kick out of, and that is bushwalking and multi-day hikes. And I did a multi-day hike or an overnighter hike a couple of years ago, and I absolutely love it. I haven't done one since, but I'm planning this year to do one. But that adventure in me is very strong. I just, really need to get out and about. I really get a kick out of it. And maybe in a different life I might have been jumping off mountains or, doing extreme sports. I believe I've got it in me. That's not life, and family kind of, takes over that. But yeah, so join me in this trip of exploring what adventure is. Right, I've just pulled over. I'm been on the road for an hour. We're not that far from Rathdowney. I've just pulled in a little roadside stop, stretch my legs, have a bite to eat, and sort of just get ready for the next leg of the trip. Now, as I said, we're exploring adventure. What is adventure? And I'm doing a little bit of adventure this weekend. Just a quick overnight camp and a bushwalk. And certainly it's no extreme adventure, but it's still adventure. What does adventure mean? What does it mean for you guys? What does it mean for me? And explore what is classed as adventure. If you Google adventure, the word Google adventure, it's an unusual, hang on, get my reading glasses on, an unusual and exciting or daring experience. What I plan to break that down. We'll look into those 3 words as we do our little trip today and work out how they all kind of interact with each other to make up the definition of adventure. So I'm in this little town called Rathdowney, a cute little town, and I'm having some lunch. Now Rathdowney is kind of a really cool little town, but it's sort of a town people pass through to get somewhere else because it's kind of a centre of a few pretty cool things in this area. So we're out in the scenic rim, which is about an hour and a half out of Brisbane. Over to the west, from where I'm sitting, roughly, westish, is Mount Bain National Park. You have down this road down here, you have the Queensland New South Wales border. This is the last town before the border. You also have, Mount Lindsay, the actual Mount Lindsay, which is the Mount Lindsay Highway is named after. We also have the Border Ranges National Park, is where I plan to go tomorrow. And the tourist route of Lions Road, which is a road that instead of going the highway, you can then cut through from Rathdowney to Kyogle. So Rathdowney is one of these little towns where it's more just a stopover point for everyone. But it does have a pub and it does have a pretty awesome takeaway shop. And so it's a bit of a thoroughfare town. Now the first word that we need to look into with the definition of adventure is unusual. Now, unusual is not the sort of word I would have thought would be a description of adventure. Yes, exciting, daring, yes, that makes perfect sense, but not unusual. But when you really start thinking about it, it actually makes sense. If you are doing the same thing over and over again, then it sort of isn't going to be adventure, is it, to a degree? It's a hard one. Now, I travel down to Rathdowney today, and I come down here probably 3 or 4 times a year. I'm a fan of the Mount Bain National Park, so I go down there quite regularly. But it's not my usual thing. I don't work down here, I don't live down here, and so I'm not travelling here every day. So in this case, it is actually unusual. It does fit the description. I've also decided to buy some lunch at the shop in town, and I decided to buy something different, and so I brought a steak and onion sandwich, which I wouldn't normally buy. Now, I'm not saying that I'm living on the edge here, it's only a steak and onion sandwich, but it does fit. I'm doing something unusual. I don't normally eat steak and onion sandwiches. Now, it is a good sandwich, so if you're in Rathdowney, go to the shop and grab something to eat, because this is awesome. I did think of going something even completely more unusual, and there was a vegetarian burger, but I just couldn't handle that, so I decided to go more of a safer option. So I was doing a little bit of exploring after I had lunch and found I could get underneath this bridge. Now, this bridge is actually part of the Mount Lindsay Highway, and I believe that's the Logan River, the start of the Logan River anyway. So this you tick off to being unusual as well. I don't normally climb under highway bridges, so tick on the unusual for this adventure. So we've just left Rathdowney, and we're now on the Lions Road, the start of the Lions Road. Now, Lions Road is a tourist route that connects Rathdowney to Kyogle without going on the major highway. It's a lovely drive, windy, goes through, beautiful drive. But I have found out that it's actually been closed soon. They've got some major repairs they need doing after recent floods. So I'm actually, it's going to be closed next week, I think. So I'm actually quite amazed that I can do it. I didn't realise that was a fact. I was waiting for my lunch at the shop, and I was just looking at the front page of the local rag, and sure enough, there was an article saying it was going to be closed, and I kind of panicked. And I asked the lady, and she said, it's They're scheduled the maintenance, so it's next week they're closing it, and then it could be actually closed for a couple of months. The other cool thing about this road is the train line between the states, Queensland, New South Wales, the main freight line, actually runs the same route. And where I'm camping tonight, it's actually on the other side of the valley, and that's one bad thing about this campsite is you'll hear the freight trains during the night. All right, I'm down here at the creek. This is actually Running Creek. I've set up camp just up on the hill. It's been a little bit long afternoon. I'm a little bit here later than expected. I did a lot of shooting and drone work, and it's been hot. And I'm super eager to jump in here and have a swim, which brings me to our next word on our adventure description. And our next word is exciting, which is causing great enthusiasm and eagerness. This is an interesting one because if you are not exciting about going on adventure and you've got a lot of enthusiasm about it, you're not going to go, are you? What's the point? But there's also, you're keen about certain parts of the adventure. You know, I'm keen to have a swim. I knew this creek was here and I've been hanging about it all day. The other thing is I am often excited about seeing a movie or excited about sitting on the couch for an hour and playing Candy Crush. I love metal music and I've got Knotfest coming up soon and I am absolutely keen and eager to go see that. But is that an adventure? That's the big question.
Well, that was an interesting night's sleep. Haven't slept in my swag for a long time, so I think I'm getting a little bit old for it. Need more cushioning, I think. And believe it or not, we're getting a little bit of rain, so that's awesome. This is what I've woken up to.
That's all right.
Alright, well, good morning everybody. I've just left the campground and now back on the Lions Road. This is a lovely drive, go through all the creek crossings. I would actually like to film more of it, but it's very hard to film because the roads are like one lane and there's quite a bit of roadworks around as well. So it's really hard to pull up and try and get the camera set up and film it. But it is a beautiful drive. I'll see if I can get a bit, but it's very hard to kind of do it safely, I guess you could say, especially on my own. But last night I had interesting night's sleep. I used my swag, which I haven't used for ages, and I think I'm getting a bit old for it. I really need a bit more cushioning. So yeah, but yeah, the other thing is in that particular campground with the train line on the other side of the valley, you get the trains going through, and you'd be surprised how many trains actually run through that track through the night. Yeah, so if you're a light sleeper, probably not the best campground for you. But overall, it's a beautiful spot. The campground is well maintained. Toilets are clean. The creek is flowing. It's absolutely gorgeous at the moment. So as long as you're not a light sleeper, great little campground. Here we are at Pinnacle Lookout in the Border Ranges National Park. It's a beautiful lookout, and we're just looking at Mount Warning, and that's Lismore out through there. But this brings us to our third word of the day, and that is daring. And if you look it up on Google, like we've been doing, it's adventurous or deceptively bold. And another meaning I came across was brave, taking risks, which I like. Now, this is an interesting one again because everyone's take on being daring or bold is differently. And like we mentioned earlier, going through a Macca's drive-through can be hard for people, and it's a daring experience for them. They have trouble leaving the house, or they don't like talking to people, or they don't like talking to the machines at Macca's, which I don't like doing either. Now, me personally, in my everyday life, I'm not a daring person. I like to be financially secure, I like to have a nice house, and I don't generally take risks. But I take more risks when I'm bushwalking or forward driving than I do than my everyday life. And that's the interesting thing. I'm pretty sure that people who climb Everest or hang off cliffs, they're not risk takers all the time. But what they do is they mitigate the risks to try and at least manage those risks, which is an important part of planning an adventure.
Flight 527 ready for departure.
Alright, the other thing we've got to talk about is planning an adventure. Now obviously you have to plan to a certain amount. You've got to do that just to be safe and to make sure you're not putting other people's lives at risk, trying to save your ass because you didn't plan properly. But do you look into every detail? So every highlight that you want to see, every sort of down to the minute level, so there's no surprises. And for me personally, I don't. I like to have that surprise. So I do the research, make sure I know where I'm going, and I know I've got the equipment and the food and everything available. But I don't actually look at too many photos of the highlights. So I don't go, hey, that rock formation, and then I just Google every picture of it. I want to experience the highlight, discovering it myself, be it four-wheel drive tracks or bushwalks. I think the idea of setting off following the sunset without a whim, without a care, and it's very romantic, is not really a thing. You've got to have some sort of planning. Otherwise, you will get yourself into trouble. So we've discussed adventures, the 3 words of adventures: daring, exciting, and unusual. And so we have an idea what adventure means now. The big question is, can adventures be bad? And we always think of adventure. We think adventure, oh, we're going to climb this epic mountain, we're going to paddle down this river, it's going to be awesome. I'm here at the Border Range National Park. It's a beautiful rainforest setting, and if you're going to have adventure, this is a place to do it. But what happens if can you have a bad adventure? For instance, if you have a plane crash and you've got to fight your way out of the jungle, fighting crocodiles and, I don't know, snakes to get yourself out. So does it fit in the three definitions? Is it exciting? Yeah, for sure. It's going to be exciting, not in a good way, but it's going to get your blood pumping, and if you survive, wow, you're going to have a story to tell. Is it daring? Well, yeah. Even though you deliberately didn't put yourself in this, it's daring as in you are fighting for your life. Yeah, everything's at stake. And is it unusual? Well, yeah. Who is in a plane crash multiple times and makes it usual day in the life thing? So it does fit the definition of adventure. So adventure, I guess, can be bad and good. But let's just hope that all the adventures are good adventures. That's what we want. I'm here at the Bar Mountain Lookout. It's basically a 2k walk in and out to get here. It's a pretty cool view. Now, I'm thinking about the 3 elements of adventure. Depending on how each one of those and each that you put in, depends on what sort of adventure you have. For instance, daring. Now, if someone might decide that it'd be fun to jump off this cliff with a parachute, and that's pretty daring, that's pretty extreme. But that would also then affect how exciting the adventure is. As in, if you jump off this, you're going to be pretty damn exciting. Now, as for the unusual, well, that really depends on how often you jump off cliffs. But for the average Joe, that is pretty unusual. So everything works sort of with each other to make the adventure. It's not just one sole thing, and that's adventure. You can have something really exciting, but doesn't make an adventure. And you can do something that's very unusual, but doesn't make an adventure. It's all 3 things together. But having said that, if you do one, then often the others will follow. Such as, if you do something unusual, you go to a new city that you've never been to before, then you're going to be pretty excited about going. And in some degrees, that's also daring. You've never done it before. Well, one thing I didn't mention, going on adventure can be hard work. So I'm on this bushwalk and I'm walking uphill, which doesn't surprise me since it's a loop down to the lookout and it was all downhill going to the lookout. So I guess it makes sense that I've got to walk back up it. But yeah, not my favourite thing to do, to walk up hills. But I seem to do it all the time for some reason. So you wouldn't believe it, I'm still walking uphill. But I guess the good side of it is that I'm burning off that steak and onion sandwich I had at Rathdownie yesterday. Got to lose some weight, which is good. Well, I've made it back. That was a hard little walk, that. It's only a couple of k's, but it was all uphill. So yeah, it was good though. It wasn't like super hard, but enough to get the heart rate going and sort of test out your leg muscles. So that's not a bad little walk. So that's called the Bar Mountain Lookout, I think. Hang on, I'll just go read it over here. Yeah, so that's called the Bar Mountain Circuit, which they class that as a grade 3, 4 kilometres, 2 hours. That's what New South Wales National Parks are saying. So yeah, it's not a bad walk, all downhill, but you get an awesome view from the lookout, and then it's back uphill on the way back. But yeah, a good little walk. Just 4K is not too much. You can knock it out in a couple of hours, but yeah, get you hot and sweaty, and it's all through rainforest as well, which is, I didn't film any of it, but there's quite a lot of bird life and stuff like that. There's kind of waterfalls and stuff, so yeah, quite a cool little walk. If you're here at the Border Range National Park, check out the Bar Mountain Circuit. Not a bad little walk. So here I am at another lookout on the Border Ranges National Park. That is Mount Warning. That's pretty cool. And it brings us to our conclusion of what adventure is. Now, we've learnt a lot during this video, and you know, we understand what adventure is now. We understand that you need to plan it. You understand that all three elements make an adventure. But the big question is why do we need adventure in our lives? And I think the reason for that is life becomes mundane. We get caught up in work, in life, in kids, in school, in mortgage, and everything else. And we need this outlet just to give us a break. And no matter what it is, it could be full driving, it could be bushwalking, it could be climbing Everest, it could be jumping off cliffs with a parachute. It gives us that outlet that breaks up the mundane life. But of course, it begs the question is, shouldn't our lives be more adventurous? Shouldn't our everyday lives be exciting? Shouldn't our everyday lives, you know, be daring? Our everyday life be unusual? And if it isn't, maybe we should make it so. So, it's been a big couple of days. I've spent 2 days filming for this episode about adventures, and like most things that are planned, and this is a little bit of a mini adventure, it didn't quite go to plan. I'm running much later than I expected. It is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm still up here in the Border Ranges National Park, and it's according to maps a 2.5 hour drive to get home. So I'm gonna have a late night. Not too late, I'll still get home to get the kids to bed, but much later than expected. So there you go. All plans, all adventures don't always go according to plan. So I've got my cup of tea made, I've had a bite to eat, and I'm going to sit in the car for the next 2.5 hours and get home. So that was a long drive, and I am home. And like any good adventure, it's always good to get home, to have your own bed, to have your own shower, and just chill. And with that last thought, thanks for watching, and good night.